Hello, this is the introductory lecture to Philosophy 10 at UC San Diego, Introduction to Logic. This video is going to correspond to the material I will do during the first lecture in the first day of class, and it's going to mostly be administrative information for people who are actually signed up for the class at UCSD. So I'm not going to be saying anything about logic itself in this lecture. It's just going to be information about grades and discussion sections and things like that. So if you are a UCSD student, you might want to watch this, especially if you're enrolled in the class. If you are not a UCSD student, but you're just wanting to watch some lectures on logic, this would not be the place to start. You would start with the next lecture in this series. So what I'm going to talk about now is first off some administrative information, and that's going to include who I am, the course materials for the class, discussion sections, the Google group for the class, how grades are determined, a few other issues, and that'll be it. Then I'm not going to actually talk about these things. These will be in the next video after this where I start talking about logic. But just to give you a heads up, in the next video, I'll be talking about what logic is, why it's important, what sentential logic is, because this class goes along with the textbook that I wrote for it called Basic Sentential Logic and Informal Fallacies. And so I'll describe a little bit what sentential logic is and what informal fallacies are, but that'll be in the next video. So first off, who am I? My name is Rick Grush. I'm a professor of philosophy here at UC San Diego. Who else is involved? It's not only me, but actually in the class as it's taught, as I teach it, is a big lecture course, usually anywhere from 150 to 300 students or sometimes even more. And so there are TAs who are involved. Their office hours and my office hours change every quarter, obviously, so I can't put them on a video like this, which is going to be up for quite a while, many years, hopefully. But we'll announce those on the Google group. They will also be listed on the syllabus, and I'll say a little bit in a minute about how to get to the Google group and hence to the syllabus for the course. The course materials, the basic material is the textbook, which is Basic Sentential Logic and Informal Fallacies. This textbook, it was written by me explicitly for this course. When I first started teaching this class at this department, used commercially available logic textbooks, which are fine, but they're incredibly expensive. At the time, they were 70 or 80 bucks, and I think now they're even more. And in addition to being very expensive for the students, they also were not exactly tuned to the way I like to teach this course. There was material in there that I didn't use and some material I liked that wouldn't be in those textbooks, and so it wasn't exactly ideal. But I decided to solve those problems, both of them at once, by just writing the textbook that we're using for this class. It's much cheaper. It's just done by the UCSD Custom Course Materials Department. They put it together, and it's actually pretty light. It's easy to carry around, and it's cheap. And it's also exactly tuned to this class, including the fact that the text has practice exams in it. So I'll talk about the exams in a minute. But for every exam, there is a practice version in the textbook. Altogether 5 exams and a final. And there's a practice version for everyone and solutions to those. Practice exams are also in the textbook. There is also in the back of the textbook a preliminary syllabus for the class. So we don't hand a syllabus out in class. The preliminary sort of condensed version of the syllabus is just in the back of the textbook. I say preliminary for a couple of reasons. One, there's an official syllabus. It's online. I'll talk about it in a minute, which is longer, has more material, and is up to date. The one in the textbook isn't up to date because it's a hard copy. I have to get it into the bookstore, a month in advance, so I don't know who the TAs are. I don't know my office hours. Also, it's only 2 pages. I truncated it down to just essential information. But nevertheless, it is there, and it's helpful to have it in the textbook. The online syllabus, I'll tell you how to get to that in a minute, what the URL is. Or actually, I'm not going to tell you the URL because that's going to change all the time, but I'll tell you how to get to the online syllabus. Here's the important thing about the syllabus. Read the official syllabus. Okay, why? Well, because some of the exams are going to have a multiple choice question that concerns content on the syllabus. So it's basically like 3 points. It's not going to be a hard question. If you've just read the syllabus and kind of like made an effort to understand what it's saying, the multiple choice question will be a no-brainer. You'll just look at it, you'll immediately know the answer, and it'll be like 3 points. Okay? It's just to encourage you to actually read the syllabus. In addition to the textbook, another course material is the lecture videos. In fact, you're watching one of those videos now. These videos are all available on a YouTube channel. That channel, the title of the channel is Introduction to Logic, Philosophy 10, UC San Diego. I put the URL up, but Google puts these weird URLs that are a lot of random characters, and it would be crazy. But if you just search for that YouTube channel, that should take you right to it. Also, there's a link to it from the Google group and also from the syllabus, and I'll be talking about both of those shortly. Back to the videos. There's videos for basically every single lecture that I'm going to do for the entire quarter. So you can go right now to the video channel and watch every lecture for the entire quarter if you want. Now, there's a couple of minor differences. One, between the video version of the lectures and the actual lectures in class. One, you can't ask videos a question. If you come to class, you can ask questions. Second, if you come to class, there's other things. You can come up after class to ask questions. You can talk to your TAs before or after class to coordinate about things or whatever. So there are advantages to going to the physical lecture. On the other hand, there are some advantages to the video versions as well. The regular lecture is constrained to 50 minutes, and so depending on how it goes, I may not always get to all of the examples that I want to get to, and I may have to sometimes rush things if we're running out of time. The video versions, I don't have to rush anything, and I can get through all of the examples I want to get through because I'm not limited to 50 minutes. I just do these videos for the length of time that seems right. So in many cases, you'll get more examples worked through and things won't necessarily be as rushed. Also, obviously, you can pause a video, you can rewind a video and look at something again if it didn't make sense the first time. So there's some advantages to the videos over real lectures. In addition to the lecture and the textbook and the video versions of the lectures, there are also discussion sections. When you sign up for the class, you actually sign up through one of the discussion sections. Attendance at these is not required. The teaching assistants who run these are not going to take attendance at them. So if you want to, you can blow them off. However, I highly, highly recommend that you go to them, bring questions, work through the exercises that are online, get an idea for what things you're good at, what things you're not good at, what you have trouble with, and then just go to the discussion section and ask questions. It's a cheap and easy way to get better at the material and hence to put yourself in a position to get a better grade. So I highly recommend it. Now you can attend any section, so not just the one that you're officially enrolled in. So when you enrolled in the class, you had to enroll through one of the discussion sections. And you can attend that section if you want, obviously, but you can also go to any of the others if you like. You can go to more than one discussion section if you like. So for example, if when you enrolled in the class, there was a discussion section that met your schedule, that was very convenient for your schedule, but it was full, so you had to sign up for another one. You can still show up at the one that meets your schedule. You'll be officially enrolled in a different section because that was the one that had room for you, let's say. But you can attend the one that fits your schedule better. That's not a problem. Keep in mind, though, that the teaching assistant who's in charge of the section that you are officially enrolled in, that's going to be the teaching assistant that has the grade sheet with your name on it. So regardless of which section you actually show up at, that's the TA that you'll want to talk to if there's any issues with recording scores, things like that. Okay. The Google group. So I'm recording this video in the winter term of 2015, so that's why this Google group has this URL. The URL is going to change every quarter, so this may not be the URL depending on when you're watching this video. But it's easy to see because what I do is every term is I leave everything the same, UCSD Fill 10, and I just change what term it is. It's either winter, spring, or fall. So, and then I change the year. So depending on when you're watching this video, when you're taking this class, this might be UCSD Fill 10 Fall 2017, or it could be Spring 2016, or whatever. But that'll be the URL. I don't change everything else. I just follow that pattern. Now this group is used by the TAs and myself to communicate things about due dates, about schedule changes, when grades are available, and things like that. So it's a good idea for you to be subscribed. And in fact, it's not just a good idea. It's a course requirement that you subscribe to this group, and or if for some reason you don't want to subscribe to it, that you check it often, at least 3 times a week, if not more times per week, because you're responsible for any information that gets distributed on this group. Okay. Just to clarify, it is a public group, so anyone, whether they're subscribed or not, can just go to that URL and look at all of the announcements. So you don't need to subscribe. You don't even need to have a Google account to just go and check it. However, the easy thing to do is subscribe, and when you subscribe via the all email option. Some people amazingly sign up for digest version, and what the digest does is it doesn't give you every announcement when it comes in. It just waits until the end of the week and then sends you one email that has all of the announcements. That's not what you want to do. You want to get every email when it's sent. Okay, if your TA sends a message out that section is canceled today, you want to know that right away to save you the hassle of actually going to section. You know, if you get it 5 days later, that doesn't do you any good. So sign up and sign up for the all email option. That's the easiest way. Only myself and the TAs can post to it, so you're not going to get a lot of spam, and there's not a lot of posts, so you don't have to worry that your inbox is going to get deluged with stuff. The official syllabus for the class is on the Google group, or more accurately, there's a link right there. When you go to that Google group, the welcome message up at the top is just going to be the link to the syllabus is here, and it's going to be big red letters, and that's going to be the first thing you see. At least on the desktop version. If you go to Google Groups on a mobile, like on your phone, it doesn't have the welcome message for some reason, but the first actual message, which you will see, will also be a link to the syllabus. Okay, so that's how you get to the syllabus, is just go through the Google group. So here's what you do. You go to the group, you subscribe to it, all email delivery option, and then from there, bam, you go to the syllabus and you read the syllabus. Why do you read the syllabus? Again, because there's going to be questions on some of the exams concerning the syllabus. Okay. By the way, why do I do that? Why do I put some questions on there to encourage everyone to read the exams? It makes my life easier and the teaching assistants' lives easier because a lot of questions students have are answered on the syllabus. So it saves us a lot of trouble answering questions that are already answered on the syllabus. It also helps the students out because it quite often happens that students get hosed because they didn't read the syllabus. I've actually had one student fail a class because she did not read the syllabus. And she could easily have gotten an A. She was really smart and knew the material, but for some reason on the first day of class, she just asked the student, some dude sitting next to her, something about the grading policy. I think it was like, how much are the quizzes worth or something. This wasn't for Phil 10 for logic. This was for a different class that had quizzes that were every day. And the student just told her something that was completely wrong. And so she thought the quizzes were not worth a very big part of the grade, when in fact they were. So she blew them all off and ended up failing the class. Even though she was really smart, if she'd just taken those quizzes, she would have gotten an A. She did really well on everything else. So it was a sad story, but it was avoidable. If she had just read the syllabus, she would have known the grading policy and would have gotten a good grade. So stuff like that happens. So just, read the syllabus. It protects you. It helps us out. Okay, next topic, grades. Here's how they're going to be done. There's 1,000 points possible for the class. So, by the time the class is over, you will have earned somewhere between 0 and 1,000 points. How do you get points? Well, points come from 6 sources. During the quarter, there are 5 exams. I could also call these quizzes because they don't take all class period. They're designed to be done in about 20 minutes. So maybe they're halfway between a quiz and an exam. I don't know, but they're short. Each one is worth 110 points, and that totals 550 points. Why 5? Well, because each one is given when we're finished with the first 5 chapters of the book. So I lecture on chapter 1. We're done with that. There's a quiz/exam on chapter 1. Then I lecture on chapter 2. Then we have an exam on chapter 2, and so forth, up through exam 5. Now there is a chapter 6, but we don't have a separate exam for chapter 6. Instead, there's a final exam, which is worth 450 points, which covers chapter 6, the last chapter, but is also cumulative. It also covers, it has sections also that correspond to material from sections 1 through 5. So it's a cumulative exam. So anyway, the 5 exams, short exams, 110 points each for 550, and then a final exam is 450 points. That totals 1,000 points. By the way, as you'll see when you read the syllabus, there's no makeup exam policy in the class. So you can't make up an exam. If you miss an exam, then the way we handle that is the points are made up by taking the corresponding section of the final and using the points you get on that to make up the points. Okay? And if the reason you missed the class is for a legitimate reason, you make up 100% of the points. And I'll talk about what that means in a minute. If you miss a class for a non-legitimate reason, right, like you just forgot about it, or you decided to take a vacation or something, then you can make up 85% of the points. So it's still pretty good, right? 85% if you sleep through an exam, that's better than failing it. How does that work? Well, if you'll notice here, each of the 5 exams is worth 110 points. The final exam has a section that corresponds to chapter 1 and a section that corresponds to chapter 2. And those are all worth 55 points. So for instance, if you miss exam 1 for a medical reason, which is a legit excuse, you can make up 100% of the points. What we do is when you take the final, we take the points that you earned on that section of the final, the section that corresponds to chapter 1, and we just double those points. So it's if you aced that section, you would get 55 points on the final. So we give you those points for the final exam. Plus, we multiply that by 2 and give you those points for the in-class exam that you missed. So you would get 110 points for that exam if you aced the corresponding part of the final. Okay. If it's a non-legitimate excuse, we don't multiply it by 2, we multiply it by 1.7, so that's 85%. Okay, so that's how we make up exams that you may have missed. Okay, so that's how you get points. At the end of the class, you'll have some number of points between 0 and 1,000. Now the question is, how do we assign letters to those points? Or you could also ask, is there a curve? Well, sort of yes and no, or maybe there will be. Here's how to think about the way the grades are going to work. First off, the worst case scenario, meaning the worst case scenario for you as a student in the class, is going to be a straight 10% breakdown. And what does that mean? Well, it means, for instance, that 90% to 100% is an A, or in this case, 900 points to 1,000 points will be an A. So maybe 900 to 930 is an A minus, 930 to 970 is an A, 970 to 1,000 is an A plus, right? And so on for Bs, right? 80% to 90% is a B, and so on. So that's just a standard straight 10% breakdown that everyone's familiar with. That's the worst case scenario for you, okay? Meaning that it's not going to be curved upwards. So for instance, suppose that all 300 people in the class get between 950 and 1,000 points. So the worst person gets 950 points. Well, if the class was on a strict curve, then that means that 950 points would probably be an F, right? That was the worst score, right? So you'd be screwed. But I won't do that, right? Here, the worst case scenario is 10%. So if the worst score is 950, the worst score is going to get an A, right? Everyone in the class would get an A if they all get, 900 points or more. That's fine. I'm not going to curve it up that way. However, depending on the average and the distribution, I might curve it down. So it might end up being the case that 890 points will end up being enough for an A minus, or 885 maybe. So if there's a curve, it might bump down, but it won't go up from 10%, okay? Which means that a curve can only work in your favor. If there's a curve, it's a benefit to you. If there's no curve, then it's a straight 10% breakdown. So as the course progresses, if you know how many points you have, which you will because we'll put that online, and you want to know roughly what letter grade you're at, you can just use a straight 10% breakdown, and that'll give you a pretty good idea. You might be pleasantly surprised if there's a curve later, but you won't be unpleasantly surprised. Okay, some other issues that sometimes come up. One is exam length. Sometimes that's not really a length or not really an issue. The normal exams, the exams 1 through 5 that are in class, not the final, but the regular exams, they're not long. In fact, I could probably call them quizzes. They're designed to be done in around 20 minutes. If you know what you're doing, 20 minutes should be enough time. Now we'll stick around for about 35 minutes. So even if you don't 100% know what you're doing, you should still have plenty of time in 35 minutes. So exam length shouldn't be a problem there. Now the final exam is long. It's a big exam, but you have up to 3 hours to do it. And in fact, most people don't need 3 hours. The fastest students are done in an hour. About more than half are done at the end of 2 hours. And by 2.5 hours, almost everyone's done. There are a few students who are still there at 3 hours, but I think almost all of them are just double checking their work, or they're hoping that inspiration hits them. But it's not because they're still madly working and don't have enough time to finish. Another issue is academic integrity. Basically just have academic integrity, I guess, is what I would say there. Don't copy off anybody else's exam. It's just not worth it. Um, okay, I think that is everything, and that'll do it for this introductory uh, lecture. What you should do is definitely read the syllabus because that has more information and up-to-date information. And that's about it.